Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Planted Unearthed. My name's Sam Peters and I'm one of the co-founders of Planted, the first contemporary design show aimed at reconnecting with nature. As part of the Planted Unearthed series, we've been exploring how design, sustainability, food production, architecture and nature can combine to create cleaner, greener, healthier spaces. We're looking in depth at how we can restore and reconnect with nature by speaking to some of the most innovative and respected thinkers in this field. Today, we're speaking to the founder and CEO of Danish design brand Form and Refine, who work with only the purest materials and traditional craftspeople from around the world in forming sustainable Nordic design pieces. Working with materials as wide and diverse as alpaca fibre to offcuts of wood, Form and Refine design pieces which stand the test of time. And I'm delighted to welcome their founder, Lasse, onto Planted Unearthed today. Lasse, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Well, it's great to have you here. It's great to have you here. And I was saying before we started recording, thank you so much for you guys. You were part of the online showcase. You still are part of Planted's online showcase. And it's great to have you kind of working with us at Planted at such an early stage of our sort of evolution. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Maybe Lasse, perhaps we could kind of start off, just tell us a little bit about Form and Refine, how it began, what are the kind of principles that lie behind it?
Yeah, it started actually. I worked a long time in the industry, and I was with a big company, a larger brand, and I was 10 years with them, and then I had enough, and I quit my job, and then I went out traveling with my wife, and we ended up in South America, in Bolivia, for almost a month. And there I really started with idea, because I found a lot of in South America, a lot of the craft or a lot of the souvenirs was done with really good materials, but it was lacking in design and the whole package around it. And in Bolivia, we got friends with some alpaca farmers, and we just lived with them in the farm. And it was just fantastic to see how dear this material is for them. It's like, they call it the Inca gold, and it's one of the most valuable materials they have. And then how they make it, how they make the yarn, how they actually produce clothes out of it, and so on. And that we continues our travel. And then when I came back to Denmark again, this idea could not really I could not get it out of my head. So I had two very, very good friends who I always had a good eye to, as you say in Denmark. And I approached them and I asked them what they thought about this idea to take look into the materials. Instead of looking into a design product, then we look into where materials are from, the society around it, and that's our angle. Instead of doing what you normally do, you look at creating a new product, but we wanted to go behind it and look into materials. And of course with the alpaca, and then we also had a very good friend who had a big forest in Denmark, and he would like to turn some of that beautiful wood he had in the forest into products. And that's, again, it fit perfect into the idea. So that was where we actually created it together, because I came with alpaca, and then we had this story with the forest in Denmark, and then we combine it. So we're actually making, praising very good materials, either alpaca fiber or we're praising the Danish wood. It's and both are really. We wanted to not just having take the material, but we also wanted to give back to the very close community. So in Denmark, we produce in Denmark, and in Bolivia, we produce in Bolivia. And I think that's really, really a big part of it, because instead of taking a material and then produce it wherever you can do it quite cheap, then try to give it back to the society and the community around it. That's actually just going back to the roots of they did in the 1900s, where they made, and that's what we are doing. So of course we are minimalizing the CO2 footprint by that, and that's really the story behind it. That's how it was founded and made. Yeah.
So it's sort of using traditional processes and kind of trying to work with these beautiful natural materials and fibers. And
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about perhaps the sort of pieces within the collection or your work that form and refine that you're most proud of, in fact, you like most?
There's a couple of difficult ways. We do three main things. We do wood, and we do alpaca fibers, and we do ceramics. When you have this very close relationship with the forest, it's if I knew now how difficult it would have been to actually cut a tree and then get it into a furniture table or something like that, it's extremely difficult, because I did not know, but we have to dry oak for 2 years before it's ready, because it has to dry down to a certain level. So it's not too, it has to be really dry actually. And then you have to find a sawmill who can actually cut it the right way and all that. All these processes is completely not normal, but it was a good learning process. And we're very proud of the things the wood that we can turn into products. We know exactly which tree it is, and we know exactly where if this tree have been and how it have grown and how long it have grown. And yeah, so the forest consists of many different. We have ash and we have oak, and we have very high quality trees and wood types, and that is really, really difficult. The same with the alpaca fiber. It's some of the best in the world because they live over 3,000 meters high, and then getting that into a special yarn, and it's knitted, and it's very, very special. The way we do it, we're not trying we want that to end up with a product that's really, really good with the material, but also of course in the design, the whole thing, so you can hold on to it very long. And you know that it's been, when we have our own forest, or when we work with this forest, then we know that where the tree comes from, and we know that, and that is really important.
And is that something you find your customers are demanding more of now, that sort of traceability, that track, where exactly where the product's from and how it's being managed, that forest? Obviously, we understand so much about biodiversity loss and the dangers now of just the deforestation around the world. I mean, how important is it that you can kind of track and understand exactly where the woods come from and how that forest is being managed?
I think it's extremely important, yeah, because the worst thing we want to do is take away from a natural forest. I think that's really, really important. And I actually, there's some, even a certification and so on, I'm a little bit against it sometimes, because I know a large corporation, they need to have maybe a stamp and something less. But when we manage this forest, then we know that it's completely different. Because for instance, when we cut a tree, an oak tree, maybe 140 years old, that's perfect for furniture production, then we don't plant one more tree after that. We have to plant 800 or 900 trees, and that's it's a completely different mindset somehow, because we know where it's coming from, and we don't need all this FSC certification and all that. But I think it's a good thing that there is this, but in our case, we don't need it. But we can, of course, feel for the end consumers, they're a bit confused, but they really like our mission and the way we're doing it, either by minimalizing the CO2 footprints and so on. Yeah.
So you say, so for every tree that you cut down, there's 800 or 900 that go into the ground.
Yes, because wow. You know, there's this plan, buy one chair, we plant a tree. If you plant one tree, they're unlikely, not very, it won't survive. You have to plant a lot of trees. In the end, there was maybe come out of 40 out of trees actually growing, and because you know how it is with sun, and some trees will survive, some will not, and then it will grow up, and it's and that, but but that's interesting, but it's a bit
In terms of the sort of the whole idea behind the brand, and in terms of the work that you've done as well, it's very much a Danish company, a Danish brand. I mean, the Danish and Norwegian, Swedish, Scandinavian culture as such seems to be hugely in touch with the design world, but also the sustainable production and sustainable design. Can you talk to me a little bit about why that might be? What is it in the Scandinavian culture that encourages a more sustainable way of producing product?
Yeah, I think we a lot of us, also my generation and my two partners, we grew up in with furniture from the golden age in the 50s. So we have this inherited with us that these classic, as you call them, we grew up in all of that. We were my parents had it and so on. So that is something that we have with us, that we would like to create a new classic, then a classic piece, because that will last over time. You can repair it, and then you can have it for a long time. So that's really, I think, one really major step. And then I think we have a small country. We have to be. We know that we have to take care of our planet and our earth and so on. We're well aware. Denmark is very known for renewable energy, and they're doing a lot in that sector. And the same in the furniture industry is coming now. We do more and more and more, and I think that's really important. So it's yeah. So I think we're known for that. We do. Some is working more with recycle. Some are doing with more in different areas. We're just trying to just minimalize in the CO2. Use the best materials. Use very classic designs. We don't, for instance, work with trends. So we have more or less no colors in our collection, and I think it's very because we don't want to be just working for news and selling a new and product and then 2 years later it's discontinued. We wanted to create a line with we call it slow living. So we create it, for instance, all alpaca. It's all natural alpaca. There's no dyed alpaca. All the wood is natural wood. We sometimes have black stained it, but that's more or less it. It's also because you can use more of it. So it when you qualify something in the quality control, then you can use black, because then you have more out of it and so on. But otherwise, that's what we really try to. We only present news once a year. And instead of doing it too often, like you're almost coming to the fashion industry where you have to call it news, because that's what's selling. But we wanted just to create and have a steady growth with our furniture. So it's nothing like flash is going up crazy, but it's going very steady. And I think that's important.
That's really interesting. Something that Planted we're really keen to promote is an idea that, you purchase something for a long period of time. It's not just, you're better off to invest a little more in something that's going to stand the test of time, rather than buying lots of cheap stuff. It's apart from anything, it clutters the whole house up, and sounds like you've got a little one there in the background, so you've probably got enough things to clutter up. But
yeah. It's now, that is the time we're in. We have to. Office has to be close to the kids, because we are at home now. So, but that's but it's nice. Yeah, it's still.
I'm holding my breath too, because our little one's upstairs with my wife Deb. So there for the grace. It could be me next, Lasse. So no worries at all.
But I just wanted to mention that when we're doing this news, or we're doing products, we are creating we try to create classics, but we are trying to, when we have to come with making a new bench or a new chair, we have to come out with something that is a little bit upgrade, or something not seen yet. We cannot just come out with a stool with 3 legs and we have to order for something new, because even though we have good intention and we're trying to be sustainable, if the product won't sell and the product is not something new, then we can just go home, basically. We really need that our product is still needed, because it doesn't make sense to make a product that's really sustainable, but it has to be a plus or have to add something that's not yet seen. And that is something we really try to work at. Sometimes, yeah, for instance, the chair we did, it took us 3 years to make that one. It's because we weaved it in the back and we weaved it in the front, and that's not been seen yet. And that was really a difficult process. But and I think that's important also to state that it, otherwise we just create more garbage, because if we just create the same more or less stool as on the market, then it won't make sense.
That's interesting. A big challenge for designers and also for consumers to come and find the brands and products that are produced in the right way. I mean, you mentioned sort of being close to home at the moment. I mean, talking about the pandemic, we can't escape it at the moment for the time being anyway. But how's that affected business for Form and Refine? How and just sort of on a kind of wider world view, how do you see it affecting the design industry going forward?
Yeah, Form and Refine we are tactile. We are very much about materials. So when you see us live and you feel the alpaca, you feel some of the stools and so on, you can really feel the craftsmanship and the wood and the quality. So that's of course good when you can experience it in stores and you can experience it live. So we were of course a bit nervous, but then we had always this mission and belief that we want a good e-tailer or a good online presence, at least one per country. And that was our strategy from day one. And that was like perfect, because if we didn't have that, then we would have been a little bit behind. But now we are surprised that we can sell our quality, our price points and so on the internet and digital appearance. But it worked really well, and we're very pleased for that. But of course, we would like that some of the stores have been open here since I think from end May until more or less now, and then now it's going the wrong direction again, and that is a bit pity. But we also felt when people were, let's say, allowed to come out and they want to do shopping again, they really missed it. They really want to experience product and really want to discover and have the social contact and just encounter a good salesperson and also maybe new products and so on. So the summer was also good for us. I think going forward, I think we are exactly on the right track, because I think sustainability it's even more important. I think slow living and improving your home is even more important than it was. One thing that's really speed up everything is digitalization. So we are going to do a bit more, maybe create a couple of videos and doing a little bit more that we already did. And that's something going forward. But of course, Corona and COVID is one thing, but I also think that we have a much bigger challenge in the years to come with our climate change, and that is something that we have to work hard on now, even though we're in this pandemic. So I think we really need to continue and work hard for the climate, because that will be a much bigger challenge that we are seeing now.
Yeah, well, that's. We agree, and we've said before we're on the same page on a lot of things, and certainly on that one, Lasse. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to say thank you. It's been fascinating talking to you, and for anybody out there who hasn't seen the Form and Refine products, then I urge you to go and check them out. They're a fantastic product, great brand, and obviously led by a good man here in Lasse, who we're very, very grateful for you taking the time out to speak to us. So thank you so much for your time today, Lasse.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Well, that just leaves it to me to say, if you've enjoyed latest series of Planted Unearthed, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, details of which can be found on our website, www.planted-cities.co.uk. On there, you'll find more great content, including our 3-part Planted Unplugged Talks programme, led by myself and Oliver Heath, which we filmed live at King's Cross in September as part of London Design Festival. Look out also for interviews with Nick Shute and Stefan Dodds from Dodds & Shute, and an interview with Archie Hardiman from Stormboard. who make all Planted's physical signage from 100% waste plastic. On there as well, you'll be able to see our online showcase, of which Form and Refine are very much front and centre. So please do go to our website. That just leaves it to me to say thanks again to Lasse from Form and Refine. Thanks to you for watching. My name's Sam Peters, and this has been Planted Unearthed.